Hey everyone, Merry Christmas! I just watched Violent Night and I loved it. I think you should watch it too. The title is a bit confusing. One could misgenre the film. One could misgenre the film because of it. We were talking about the film at uni, and someone said, "Is it a horror movie? Like Silent Night, a slasher movie about an evil Santa, or Silent Night, Deadly Night, or the unrelated Silent Night, Bloody Night?" No, this is an action comedy about Santa beating the crud out of bad people. The best way to describe it is Die Hard if it actually was a Christmas movie. Which it's not, by the way, if you're wondering. It has a lot of the same beats, actually. Bad guys with guns crash a Christmas party and take control of a building. They spend the movie trying to get into a vault with tons of cash in it. A figure trained in combat goes around taking out the bad guys one by one as they try to figure out just who the heck he is. Said protagonist has a radio that he uses to communicate with an ally, and it has a separated couple get back together, and it has an emotional scene where the protagonist says to his radio friend that he wants to see his wife again, to which his friend assures him that he will. You know, I don't think this is a coincidence. But yes, this is definitely a Christmas movie, despite being about a man with a sledgehammer caving people's skulls in. Despite having its dark moments, even by black comedy standards, it has that festive cheer you love from a Yuletide cinema experience, and the messages of family, love, and giving. This movie is a lot of fun, and I highly recommend you go see it. The film begins in a bar where we see Kris Kringle himself sitting and having a drink, and Mall Santa, sitting next to him, assumes him to be a fellow Mall Santa, and strikes up a conversation. Now that line from the trailer,
"This is my 4th year as a Santa. How about you?"
I started the whole damn thing.
That's not in the film. In the film he just says, "I've lost count." I wouldn't call that false advertising, it's just to give you an idea of what the film's about. Jolly Old Saint Nick is played by David Harbour, which is a fine choice. I mean, he was great as Jim Hopper. I haven't actually seen a single episode of Stranger Things, but from what I understand, Jim Hopper is pretty cool. And David Harbour is great as this version of the mythical character. Ed Asner is still the best Santa, though. Santa is getting drunk, showing us that this is not the pure and innocent Santa we know. Santa laments that kids today just want games and that Christmas has lost its meaning, and because of this, he considers quitting his job. This movie is about the materialism and commercialism of Christmas. When one considers a movie like Saving Christmas, which basically says that the materialism of the season is okay, and taking into account that this is an actual problem, this is an important message to have. After this scene, Santa goes onto the roof, takes off in his sleigh, and flies around Bristol while the bartender watches in awe. Then the drunk Saint Nick pukes on the bartender. There are some people who would see this and go, ugh, they see this kind of gross out humour and immediately switch off without actually considering the content and the purpose of the joke. First of all, it's a subversion of expectations to cap off the scene, and second, it cements Santa's characterization in this movie. We then see what I call the two normal leads of the movie, Jason Lightstone and his ex-wife Linda. What are normal leads? Well, like Tom and Maddie in the Sonic movies, you've got a fantasy protagonist who obviously could not exist in real life, and some more grounded and relatable characters that the story also follows. That's not to say Santa is unrelatable, but Jason and Linda are more human, I guess. They're taking their daughter Trudy to see her grandmother. Trudy apparently watched Home Alone recently and is gushing about how funny it was, and when I saw this I laughed because that was me when I was a kid. I mean, not that Home Alone's a bad movie, it's good, but she probably only watched it for the injury scenes. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, I called one of my classmates a filthy animal while my teacher was in earshot, and she wasn't too happy about that. Trudy watching Home Alone does contribute to the plot, which you'll see later. So the three go to see Jason's mother Gertrude, who's a rich and powerful businesswoman. Her house is lavish and decadent, and she, her daughter Alva, Alva's boyfriend, and Alva's son are not great people. They are very spoiled and materialistic. They mistreat their staff, and they're shown to be everything wrong with modern Christmas. Skipping ahead a bit, Jason gives his daughter a walkie-talkie, which he claims is a direct line to Santa. He doesn't think it'll actually work, much like writing to Santa would just be writing into the void from an adult's perspective. With Trudy talking into the radio, her parents overhear her Christmas wish, for her parents to get back together. Then Santa arrives, and while he's enjoying himself on a massage chair, the bad guys show up. led by Mr. Scrooge, played by John Leguizamo. Mr. Scrooge is a typical Hans Gruber antagonist who's a sophisticated burglar who's after money. But also, he's the typical Christmas movie villain who hates Christmas, complete with a backstory explaining why. Anyway, I think he's interesting enough. No one beats Hans Gruber though, in terms of extremely efficient robbers. But yeah, Scrooge is cool and Leguizamo does a good job. We do know that he is capable of playing a good villain, I guess. Was Clown good? I think Clown was good.
S to the P to the A to the Y. S to the P to the A to the Y. Goes funny, goes funny.
We might have to do a top 10 best villains in bad movies, and Clown would be on the list, right up there with Minus and Rumpelstiltskin. Anyway, like in Die Hard, the bad guys sense movement and send someone to investigate, and we get our first fight scene. The fight scenes do have a bit of shaky cam, not a lot of cuts, thankfully, and I never found myself confused as to what's going on. The fight scenes are quite well made, and there's tons of creative ways that Santa kills people. After the fight, Santa sees a helpless little girl through the window and vows to save her. Trudy talks into her radio, asking Santa for help, and Santa actually receives it. Now we're getting to spoiler territory, so skip to the timecode here if you want to go see the movie, which I think you should. The bad guys realize Trudy is talking to someone and demand to know who she was talking to. She's the only one who knows that the mysterious Santa figure, acting as a spanner in their plans, is the real Santa. Jason asks who she was talking to, and she repeatedly answers that it was Santa, until Jason yells at her that Santa's not real. She's heartbroken, and David has to have the Santa talk with her right then and there while men are pointing guns at their heads. Anyway, she runs off and tells Santa what her dad taught her. Santa responds that adults just don't believe. Now, in every CinemaSins video on a Christmas movie, Jeremy points out that the whole thing of adults not believing in Santa, despite physical proof, makes no sense. In these universes, Santa is real and is delivering presents. Presents appear under the tree every year, presents that the parents know they definitely didn't buy, and yet they still don't think Santa's real. When kids watch these movies, they don't think about this kind of logic. It's a lot more noticeable in a film aimed towards adults. I think the implication is that adults are skeptical to the point of denying reality. But whatever, this movie doesn't care about the logic of Santa being real, it cares about Christmas magic, Christmas miracles, and that's something I can appreciate. Although a big deal is made about the fact that Trudy didn't get to sit in Santa's lap and give him her wish list. Isn't Trudy old enough to know that the mall Santas only work for Santa Claus? Also, Santa reveals who he was before becoming Santa Claus. He was the barbaric Viking warrior Nicomon the Red. I really like that they give this Santa an origin. Not too much similarity to the real myth's origins, but apparently the modern image of Santa was partially inspired by the Norse god Odin, so there's that. Trudy goes about setting up Home Alone traps, which, unlike Kevin's, are a bit more lethal. I always wanted to see a version of Home Alone where the traps actually maim and kill the bad guys. Now, I got my wish. Well, before this movie there was Corridor's video, and anyway, some of Kevin's traps really should have killed Harry and Marv. But yeah, these traps are absolutely brutal, like Gingerbread gets impaled through the chin with a nail. Then Trudy sends a bunch of bowling balls at Candy Cane, and Gingerbread gets knocked back onto the spikes. Then Gingerbread pulls out the nail and looks at it, and a bowling ball knocks the nail into his forehead. Like, it's predictable, but it's funny, you know? It's a funny predictable. Santa rescues Trudy from Candy Cane, but finds that she hasn't been finished off yet. So he tells Trudy to look away, cover her ears, and sing Jingle Bells, while he drives his sledgehammer through Candy Cane's skull. So they steal the Hushabye Mountain scene from War of the Worlds. Whatever, this is a better movie than War of the Worlds. So skipping ahead a bit, Scrooge gets the money and orders his men to kill the hostages. Krampus gets much joy out of this. By the way, I love Krampus, he's so entertainingly psychotic, and I love the name. If you don't know, Krampus was a European Christmas demon who made kids disappear, so it's a fitting name for this henchman. We're getting to heavy spoiler territory here. Jason and Linda then get to actually fight the bad guys and actually help out, and after that, they make up and kiss, fulfilling Trudy's Christmas wish. We have a chase sequence, and Santa has a final showdown with Scrooge. The final battle is awesome. It's dramatic, it's flashy, it's everything you need from a final clash. They struggle against the remains of a chimney, and a fire burns nearby, which apparently counts as a lit chimney. Santa uses his magic to transport up, dragging Scrooge through the chimney and crushing him. Then Santa dies from bullets from one of the other bad guys, but the good guys bring him back through belief, through Christmas spirit. Yeah, it's sugary and cheesy, but I don't care. Like Elf. This movie believes in Christmas, and I love that. Santa's faith in Christmas is restored, and he goes to deliver the rest of the presents. And that's Violent Night. The cinematography is good, the lighting is good, the jokes are funny, and the story really resonates. I think it's a bloody good time, so go see it. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you thought the video was good. The top 10 best MCU villains should be coming out in January. And Merry Christmas to all, and to all, a good night.
S to the P to the A to the Y, S to the P to the A to the R. Goes funny, goes funny.